The first time it happened, I thought it was a dream. I had been lying on my back, phone still glowing faintly beside me on the nightstand, when my chest tightened. My arms and legs refused to move. My eyes were open, staring into the dim ceiling, but it felt like invisible weights were pressing down on me. I tried to wiggle my fingers, anything to break the stillness, but all I could do was breathe shallowly through my nose. That's when I saw it. Something darker than the shadows, pooling in the corner near my closet. It didn't have a shape, not really, but my eyes kept returning to it like I was being forced to notice it. I told myself it was just my brain misfiring. Sleep paralysis. Common. Harmless. But then it leaned. That's the only way I can describe it. The black mass seemed to tilt closer, stretching unnaturally as though it had been watching me the entire time. I wanted to close my eyes, but I couldn't. And then, it whispered. At first, I thought it was a hiss of air, a trick of silence. But then I heard the syllables, low and deliberate, sliding out of the dark. My full name. Not just my first name. Not the one I go by. But the entire thing, including the middle name I've never spoken out loud. The one only my parents know. My heart hammered so violently I thought I'd choke. I tried to scream, but nothing came. My chest rose and fell in shallow bursts while that black presence hung there, repeating my name in a voice that sounded like it was beneath the floorboards, or maybe inside my skull. When my body finally let go, I gasped, bolted upright, and clawed at the lamp switch. The room was empty. The closet door shut, shadows as they should be. My phone screen told me it was 3:12 a.m. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. Over the next week, it kept happening. Not every night, but often enough that I began to dread closing my eyes. Always the same paralysis, the same pressure, the same figure lurking in the same corner. And always, that voice. Sometimes it would say my name once. Sometimes 3 or 4 times in a row. Sometimes it stretched out the syllables like it was savoring them. The scariest part wasn't the paralysis anymore. It was the thought that something in my room knew me. I started sleeping with the lights on, though that only seemed to make the shadows deeper. I tried leaving music playing, but the whisper always cut through, soft, steady, deliberate. My exhaustion grew until I could barely function at work. One night, desperate, I recorded myself. I propped my phone against the lamp and hit record, praying I'd capture proof, or at least confirm that I was losing my mind. That night I woke paralyzed again. My eyes darted toward the phone, red recording light glowing faintly in the dark. And in the corner, the shadow leaned closer than ever. The whisper came, dragging my name out like it was etched into the air itself. I remember tears welling in my eyes as I begged silently to move, to breathe, to scream. Finally, the paralysis broke and I sat up, panting. I didn't check the recording until morning. Hands trembling, I scrolled through the footage. At first, just silence, my own shallow breaths. Then, faintly, something else. A sound, low, drawn out. A voice. And there it was. My full name, spoken clearly enough to make the hair on my arms rise. I dropped the phone. After that, I stopped recording. I couldn't bring myself to confirm what I already knew. Whatever that thing was, it wasn't just in my head. It was in my room. I started sleeping on the couch with the TV on, but the paralysis followed me there too. No matter where I lay down, at some point the weight would settle on my chest. My limbs would go rigid and the shadow would appear. Sometimes in the corner, sometimes closer. 2 nights ago it was beside the bed. Not across the room, not near the closet, beside me. I could see the outline more clearly this time. Shoulders hunched, its head tilting as if curious. And when it whispered, its voice wasn't distant anymore. It was right against my ear. It said my name once, twice. Then it paused. And in the silence, I swear I felt its breath. I don't know what it wants. I don't know how it knows me or why it's here, but I haven't slept properly in days. I can't. Every time I drift off, it's waiting. And last night, for the first time, it didn't say my name. It said, "I'm closer." The first time it happened, I didn't even question it. I woke up to my alarm buzzing, sunlight leaking between the blinds, my phone lighting up with notifications. Everything was normal. I showered, made coffee, scrolled through emails. I went to work, dealt with the usual faces, the usual tasks. The conversations with coworkers felt mundane in a way that made me forget I'd even been asleep. But when I got home that night, something shifted. I sat on the edge of my bed, pulling off my shoes when I blinked just once, and suddenly I was flat on my back, staring at the ceiling. My body wouldn't move. My chest rose shallowly, the same way it always did during sleep paralysis. I was still in my work clothes, my shoes were still on, but I was back in bed, as if the entire day had been a trick. A reel of memory played directly into my mind. When the paralysis broke, I jumped up, gasping, sweat clinging to my shirt. My phone said it was 7:04 a.m., the same time I'd woken up that morning. I tried to shake it off. Stress. My brain collapsing timelines. But the next time was worse. I woke up again to the sound of my alarm. Sunlight. Routine. I forced myself to stay suspicious, but the day unfolded with such detail it felt impossible to doubt. The coffee was bitter. The bus was late. My boss scolded me for a mistake I didn't even remember making. Each sound, each smell, each tiny frustration etched into my brain as vividly as waking life. And then, just as before I found myself back in bed, my limbs locked, my lungs dragging air like I was drowning. The ceiling fan spun slowly above me, blades slicing the silence into pieces. But this time I wasn't alone. At the edge of the bed, in my frozen peripheral vision, a shape leaned forward. It was hazy at first, like static clinging to the edges of a person. The longer I stared, the more solid it became. I couldn't see its face, just a head tilted too far to one side, watching. Always watching. When my body broke free, I bolted upright, clutching at the blankets. The corner of the room was empty, but I knew what I had seen. It became a cycle: wake, live, return, every day growing longer, more detailed. Sometimes I'd dream for what felt like weeks. Routine bleeding into routine, before jolting awake again, paralyzed with that thing leaning closer. The worst part was how my memories tangled. Conversations from the dream days clashed with the real ones. A coworker would reference a meeting I swore had already happened. My mother called and mentioned something we'd never spoken about, though I remembered it clearly. I stopped trusting the difference. I stopped trusting myself. One night, I tried to stay awake. I left the lights on, scrolled endlessly through my phone until my eyes burned, but somewhere along the way, exhaustion dragged me under. I woke to silence, not the quiet of morning, not the hum of my apartment, but a silence so heavy it pressed against my ears. The room was dark, darker than it should have been. The blinds were gone. The clock on my nightstand was gone. Even the hum of the fridge down the hall was gone. I was paralyzed. Again. The figure at the edge of the bed wasn't hazy anymore. It was clear. Heavy shoulders, a long neck, head tilting until I thought it might snap. Its hands pressed into the mattress, indenting the sheets, sinking closer. I couldn't close my eyes. I couldn't scream. I could only feel the dip of the mattress and the whisper of air as it leaned so near my face I thought I would suffocate. Then for the first time, it spoke. "You're not awake yet." When I broke free, I screamed until my throat ached. Lights blazing, music blasting, I tried everything to anchor myself in reality. I wrote down the time. I pinched my skin until it bruised. But the truth is, I don't know anymore. This morning, I think it's morning, I woke up, showered, and sat down to write this. My coffee tastes bitter. The street outside is loud. My phone buzzes with real notifications. It all feels normal. But what if it isn't? What if, any second now, I'll jolt awake again, paralyzed, staring at the ceiling, that figure at the edge of the bed leaning closer than ever? What if I never woke up in the first place? What if I'm still dreaming, and this nightmare never ends? The first time it happened, I remember the silence, the kind that presses in on you when the house finally settles for the night. My bedroom was lit faintly by the orange glow of the streetlight outside, shadows cutting across the walls through the blinds. I had fallen asleep on my back, phone on the nightstand buzzing with a late notification. Then came the pressure. The all too familiar stiffness, my body refusing to respond. My chest tightened, lungs caught somewhere between asleep and awake. That's when I felt the shift. The mattress beside me sank as though someone had just sat down. I could feel the weight, subtle but undeniable, pulling me slightly toward that side of the bed. My eyes locked open, rolled as far as they could. Nothing. Just the hollow stretch of blankets where no one should be. Then came the breathing. It was faint, shallow at first, like someone had just exerted themselves, lips parting inches from my ear. Hot, uneven, real. My skin prickled with goosebumps, my heart drumming so violently I thought it might snap me out of it. But I stayed trapped, staring at the ceiling, counting every exhale. When I finally jerked awake, the weight was gone, the bed flat and empty. I sat up gasping, shoving the blankets off. My room as ordinary as ever. For weeks I convinced myself it was sleep paralysis, stress, a trick of the nerves. But then, it happened again, and again, always the same. The crushing stillness, the dip of the mattress, the warmth of another body sliding closer than any dream could replicate. The second time, I swore I felt the blanket tug. Not sharply, but gently, as though someone had shifted under it. The breathing was louder then, wet almost, lips parting with each inhale. I could smell it too, a sour, damp scent like old clothes left in the rain. When I regained movement, I threw the blankets off instantly. Nothing. My apartment was silent, my door still locked, but the pillow beside me was indented, as if someone had just lifted their head. By the third time, I was terrified of sleeping. I tried the couch, thinking maybe the change would help. But it didn't. That night, I woke paralyzed on the narrow cushions, my neck twisted at an awkward angle. The cushions dipped behind me. Slow, heavy, the kind of weight that makes you imagine someone crawling onto the couch. My body screamed to move, to kick, to thrash, but I was stone. The air warmed against the back of my neck, and in the silence of the room I heard it again. Breathing, steady, almost patient. Then came something worse, the faintest brush of fingers against my arm. Not claws, not violent, just a touch. The kind of casual touch someone gives when they're comfortable with you. When I finally jolted free, I didn't scream. I didn't even move at first. I just lay there, staring into the dark, my breath matching the rhythm of the phantom one still echoing in my ear. I tried rational things. Sleeping pills, leaving the TV on, lights blazing, even scattering salt along the doorway like I'd once read in some forum. Nothing worked. And each time it got worse. The weight grew heavier, as if whoever, or whatever it was climbing deeper into the bed with me. The breathing turned into soft exhales against my skin. Sometimes I swear I could feel strands of hair brush my cheek, tickling my face as though someone were leaning over me, watching. The last time, I remember the air being colder than usual. I woke pinned to my mattress, chest compressed, and before the dip came, before the touch, I heard it. Not breathing this time. A whisper, low, raspy, right against my ear. Move over. Every part of me screamed, but I couldn't flinch. The mattress sank deeper than ever, the blanket tugged tight against me, and I felt a solid body press into my side. Heavy, warm, settling in. The breathing resumed, slow and satisfied, inches from my face. When I snapped free, the room was dead silent. My bed looked normal. No indent, no blanket pulled askew. But I couldn't shake the sensation, the warmth still lingering on my skin, the feeling of the space beside me no longer empty. I haven't been able to sleep in that bed since. I drag myself to the couch most nights, lights blazing, TV humming, but I know it doesn't matter. Because when I close my eyes, sooner or later I'll wake up paralyzed, and I'll feel the mattress dip, and he'll be there beside me, breathing, waiting.